All right, welcome back. It's now just gone after 8 right here in Nairobi, Kenya. We are coming to you live from our studios on Mombasa Road, and this is Morning Express. And today we are focusing on the National Prayer Breakfast Day. And there is a saying that a family that prays together stays together. So hopefully this would be achieved as the Kenyan family comes together to pray for the nation, but led by our leaders. This is an occasion that is brought about and organized by Parliament and also funded by Parliament. And joining me in studio to just continue bantering on this is John Kagushia, who is a governance expert. And well, we've been with him all along and looking at some of the leaders who have come so far and possibly what Kenyans should anticipate this time round. Like we've mentioned, this is now the 15th year of having the National Prayer Breakfast in Kenya, and what possibly we should expect, given that the previous ones, well, it is questionable after the prayer breakfast if there's any tangible result that we can get out of it.
Yeah, well, maybe one of the things that we should also be praying about today is, and thanking God for also, is the issues that we have been tackling, the issues of UNGA. We thank God that as a reprieve to a great extent. Probably we need to thank God for that. But just taking a cue from what I've seen Dr. Oluga say, maybe one of these days we also need to have a national prayer fasting. Yeah, and probably it will need to be led also by
the same politicians.
Yeah, the same politicians, where we can skip breakfast and lunch, probably. And I think that is something I would advocate for, even in the national prayer breakfast arrangement. And probably also to also have it done in the counties also, maybe on the same, just the way we do national events, national celebrations. Yeah, but again, I want to say the issues of leadership in Kenya is at times intriguing, because as probably we mentioned here during the break, we have a lot of leaders who are now leading institutions which are very critical in government, and they are practicing Christians, and others are also practicing Muslims who are expected to uphold very high levels of values, of integrity. For example, look at judiciary now. The person leading Maraga is a staunch Adventist. And if you look at now EACC, the person leading EACC now is also a very respected religious leader in Kenya. And that goes also, if you look at Kalonzo Musyoka also, is a person who is a practicing Christian, and he is a deputy in the opposition, in NASA. Yeah, and also look at the deputy also in Jubilee. He's a person who has professed Christianity for a long time, even to the level of having been a Christian Union leader. You'd expect that if all these people then would ensure that they completely practice, and also ensure that people who are behind or below them are also practicing these values, probably as a country, then we are likely to see a bigger difference. So what my prayer would be is that we need to see a correlation now between what we are professing in this particular event, and also how we are running government, and how we are carrying ourselves as political leaders, and also how we carry ourselves as business leaders, probably also the media, how it carries itself, so that we can see the leadership that we are going to have going forward, even from August, being a leadership that is centered on issues of values, whereby a brother will care about another brother, a sister will care about a sister, because the moment you come and take what is supposed to help other Kenyans and use it for your own good, simply what you're saying is that you really don't care about your other brothers. And you know, we are all meant to be patriotic to our country. I know there's a group of young leaders who have also come together, and they are coming up with a movement whereby they want to propagate the ideals of patriotism. And they actually want every political leader to actually sign a declaration that I am a patriot. And once I am going to get into leadership, I am going to uphold high levels of patriotism in the country, and that I will not take what does not belong to me. I will not use my office for my own benefit against or to the detriment of Kenyans. If we see that happening, then you can be sure that this country is likely to change. And that then means that we have to change right from within, the core, the culture, the thinking, the way of doing things. It has to change completely. We have to stop praising those people who do wrong things. Because like you see, there's a cartoon which was there, I think 2 days ago, whereby if you are called a thief, then the public will say, no, that is our thief. We will give him a vote. You know,
yes, yes.
If you are called a mkora, that is our mkora. You know, we have to change that way. And that's why at times we say leadership is a reflection of the society. So as a society, then we have to understand that those people who corrupt government, who take away from government, even though they come from our ethnic communities, they don't do justice to us.
At the end of the day, it's also looking at the effect that it has on us as the citizenry, because we may feel they belong to us for one reason or the other, but it does not benefit you or your community at the end of the day.
In fact, you suffer. You suffer a lot. For example, if you look at let's say like even the issues we have now about famine and drought and scarcity of food, if anyone will take advantage of this process, and indeed some of the questions have been asked in that line, is any person taking advantage of the misery and the problems that we're having as a country, if indeed someone would do that, then of course, first they remain cursed by God because they are punishing humanity. But again, at the same time, we as Kenyans also need to say, no, we do not want you to go that direction, because it is us who are suffering. And we have had those kind of instances where even people would collect money for the hungry in the northeastern who are dying, but then you find that that food does not get to that level, or even the money that has been collected. And you know those kind of initiatives that have been held before, and people now even keep on shying off from those kind of initiatives anymore, because then there is at times misuse of those kind of funds, and they are supposed to go and help the very needy. So you see, that is a place where as Kenyans we need to rethink our attitude and our approach, so that we can talk or we can speak to our conscience. And I believe we have a conscience. And National Prayer Breakfast is one of those events that is supposed to arouse our conscience as a country, so that then we think positively about one another. If, for example, you do not carry out your duties as you are required to, especially when you are a public servant, then it means that you are endangering another person's life. Yeah. Just to mention, look at what has been going viral about Mombasa Road, a pothole somewhere around Mombasa Road.
Yes, where cars are literally hitting a pothole
and flying off the road.
Flying off.
You can imagine it is someone who has a responsibility, charged with that responsibility to ensure that something is done about that. But you know, they don't do it. And they keep off. And then what is the result? An accident happens, and another one, and they continue until you have 30-something accidents happening on the same spot, until it goes viral. You know, really, that is lack of integrity for a person who is, you get...
in office. And now the question is, where is the disconnect? Because like we've talked about Kenya being a religious nation, and we do know that one of the things that religion does, or being a Christian, Muslim, or whichever religion, it instills values. It gives us a value system. And look at an example of President Park, who currently is in the dock, from president to prison, literally. But when we look at Kenya, we are left wondering, when will we ever get to a point where we can say, for true, this is a religious nation, and here are the values that we uphold as a nation, and as a result of the values, here are the results.
We'll get there when, as Kenyans, we choose to. When we, as Kenyans, agree that it is now a must we take action. I told you, we as Kenyans like the truth. We want the truth. But we find ourselves unable to handle the truth. If we want to be told who really did what, who did the wrong thing. Now, when investigations are done and we are told who did the wrong thing, and then it happens to be a political leader, then what do? We accompany them to EACC. We even block the roads against other innocent citizens who are moving about their businesses. We accept to be used by the same politicians to shield them. And of course, at a small pay. You see, what that happens is that the results of this is that then the elites can always continue with impunity, well knowing that they will always run to their background and they will get the support they would probably require. Now, that is something that we as Kenyans must now say enough is enough. And we agree as Kenyans, the corrupt are in their own tribe. The people of integrity, we are also in their own level. So those people who are corrupt, we need to disassociate ourselves with them and understand that whether they come from whichever ethnic group, all of them are in one tribe of the corrupt people, of the fraudsters, of people who continue to make this country suffer a lot. And who suffer? It is the people who are lower in the society in terms of financial ability. So we all need to agree that we will not protect these people. And we need to face the truth and accept that these people need to be pushed to the level that they need to. If it is going to committee, let them go to committee. Now, we know of a lot of people in this country who are elite who are actually in committee. But we do not know of politicians who are in committee. You get? So it means actually people are found culpable of these offenses. They are actually guilty and the verdict is given and they are found to, even the elite, and they are found to have corrupted and they are actually taken to prison. But the same does not happen to politicians. And it's simple because we as Kenyans protect them. So I think, Mike, one of the things that we just need to do is, even as media, is to ensure that we unite all the Kenyans and make them understand that they are all together against the people who are corrupt. But for now, we just give this a lip service. Politicians come and convince us, and we agree, and then there's inaction at the top. Because, for example, if, let's say, Jubilee government is in power, if you take action against even some of the top Jubilee officials, probably who may be corrupt, what happens? People say, you see now, Jubilee is against our community. Yeah? Even when it happens, when the president stopped, or rather, he sacked 5 cabinet secretaries.
It was given an ethnic angle to it, that it's our people who are under attack.
Yeah, and that is done as fast as even before people even know the truth. Even they get to investigate. The first thing is who even media, by the way, Mike, you also need to take responsibility here, because even media, we also run into who comes from where. And that kind of profiling is done. And of course, you know, when you do that kind of profiling the following morning, what becomes the decision, the discussion the whole day with Kenyans is about, yeah, it is true, this person who came from this area, now Uhuru doesn't need that community anymore. Now, the same thing, even if NASA, for example, was to come into government, and Raila Odinga took a very firm step against corruption, against certain leaders, again, you will see the same thing happening, because we are all Kenyans, and we tend to do things in that kind of a manner, which is not right. We need to, as a country, accept that corruption is derailing us, graft is derailing us, ethnicity, negative ethnicity is pulling us down, and we cannot be able to progress at the level that we need to if we are surrounded by all these evils.
Now, it seems sometimes it's more of a catch-22 situation, because you'll find that the reason why some will give as an excuse for engaging in corrupt activities would probably be because they have to. Maybe systems don't work, or others it's because they need food on their table. Now, you mentioned some of the people who are possibly used and paid to even cause chaos. The bottom line would be that we are a hungry nation. And maybe even the prayer, as opposed to prayer breakfast, prayer fasting might be more appropriate in this case, especially with the case of unga prices becoming ridiculous. But do we ever see a situation in a time where, as a country, we'll get to a point where, first of all, we are sufficiently supplied in the basic commodities to a point where now people can make reasonable decisions?
One of the values that we need to embrace as Kenyans is the value of hard work, and stop dependence and reliance on any other external people or systems or handouts. We need to embrace a system. I mean, in a village where 70% of people would go for handouts when they are called for, we have a 30% of people, even if the handouts are brought to their doorstep, they will not pick. Why? They believe in self-reliance, they believe in hard work, and they believe they're supposed to eat the sweat from their hard work. Now, you'll find that it's a chain. There's a friend of mine who's been campaigning this time around, and he spent quite a bit of money to campaign. Reason being, the Wananchi really need a lot of handouts from him. And he was telling me, now I understand why when people go to government, one of the things they want to do is to steal, because they want to return their losses. Now, you see, it's a cycle. because you start by a very expensive campaign because people do not want to look so much at the ideas. They want to look more at what you're giving them. Then from there, you go to the leader now getting into power. What do they want to do? They want to get themselves a little bit of wealth on their side so that they can return their losses. Then what happens after that? When they go back to talk to the people again, they would be required to go with something. Now, that is a cycle, and this cycle needs to be broken. And I think we have seen a bit of action being taken by the Mwananchi this time around. And so I would expect a lot of leaders now probably then to start changing, because what you have seen happening is people with big names and people also with a lot of money who even give so much money to the public. The public refused to still give them their vote, even though some of them may have taken the money. So it means that if you are a leader and you have gotten into office, you have not even spent so much money because people did not focus more on the money, then you will need to be the person who becomes the change. You need to be the person who breaks that cycle. But again, we also need to ensure that this cycle is broken at one point or another, so that as a country we can get free of corruption. Now, you have raised a very important issue. If all of us were provided with the basic commodities, or if for some reason we are able to afford our life in our own simplicity, then probably the level of dependency would also go down. It is true. If the peasant farmers can be able to get enough maize from their own farm to take them from one season to another, it means then they will be able to have enough food. And even going to buy food from the shop will be reduced. And hence, you not so much want to rely or depend on those handouts from politicians. Now, how then do we do that? As a government, the government need to invest heavily in the production in this country. Production of food, production of other materials, and manufacturing. So that then we have more productivity in the country than what we have today. Because today, a lot of people want to go more into the service industry, whereby there is no real production that is happening. Look at a person becoming a politician today in Kenya. You make so much more money than a large-scale farmer in Kericho or in Nandi. You make so much more money. So as a farmer then, one of the questions then you would ask, do I need to farm or do I need to look for a political office? Yeah, because if you are getting more money from politics, then it means that that's the route that people need to go. If you want to understand that, look at the number of people who have resigned their jobs to go and contest for MCA positions. I mean, the number is in hundreds of thousands in Kenya. And why is it that Kenyans want to go there? Because they believe that is where you'll have lazy money, money that you don't have to work so hard for. And as Kenyans, then, we need to rethink that.
So is the question here about how much we earn, or the fact that maybe over time, and maybe we need to look into history to find out how we got where we are, we have completely put our value system down. I remember in the olden days, there's what they would call the gentleman's handshake. And the gentleman's handshake was as good as taking that word to the bank. The minute we've agreed on something and we shake hands, that became our seal and our bond. There was also the saying that your name is your bond. Have we got to a place as a country where, one, we cannot trust a gentleman's handshake? Look at the MOUs that we have had even with our leaders. And secondly, our name no longer has become a bond. We really do not have that high esteem for who we are, to a point where we're willing to compromise for anything.
Yeah, the issue of value system still remains a problem to us as a country. And again, being a prayer breakfast again, going back to the Bible says that a good name is better than great riches and wealth. But as Kenyans, do we value the issue of the name anymore? And we had an interesting case, I think, last year between an activist and a politician.
Correct.
And the case was so much about, you have tarnished my name. And then the activist would say, what name? I do not even believe you have a name.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah, so, and you can see the issue of the name and is a very important thing, because if you have a good name and people take you to be a person of integrity, then you're able to penetrate in many areas in this country. But how many people in this country really do not have a good name, but they are praised and exalted, and people think they are the best people that we can have. You see, it is a problem in our country that we do not value the issue of value system so much. We do not, and you see, what I was talking about, the issue of hard work, even in our own homes, even in where we work, the issue of hard work really has also to go with the value system, because hard work is one of the values that we need to inculcate in ourselves as a country. And the other issue of values that we need to inculcate in our value system really is the issue of honesty. How many people in Kenya today can say they are honest? And you find that a lot of us in this country, and I do not want to exclude myself, a lot of us really do not exercise or practice the highest level of honesty as it should be. A lot of people want to just create a certain picture and doesn't go beyond that, It's something that we all need to rethink about, so that we are hardworking, we are honest, yeah? The other day, I was looking at statistics on the issue of HIV and AIDS, which is now coming up. Look, we are told that the HIV and AIDS is now spreading faster at the level of teenagers than even at the level of
the adults.
The adults. Why is it so? What kind of a society are we bringing on board? Today, and I don't want to say this in a way to stigmatize any of our teenagers who may have the virus, but you find that quite a number of teenagers actually carry the drugs to school because they are already infected. It's a good thing for them to take care of themselves. But why is it that this level is going so high? We need to ask ourselves as a country, why is it so that at this level, a child of 13 years old, 15 years old, 16 years old is carrying drugs in their pocket, and they're supposed to be doing that for the rest of their life? It's simply because, again, as a society, we have not taught our young ones the kind of value systems that we need to have in this country. And also, what kind of talk do we listen to when going to school in the morning in those matatus with our kids? What kind of talk do we have? And you know what? We keep saying, oh, it's freedom of speech. We have freedom. We can say whatever we want. We can do whatever we want. But if we continue doing that, will we have a country afterwards? Once all these young people...
At the rate at which we're going.
Yeah, at the rate which we are going, we are not headed in the right direction. Because then we can't say that the Constitution has given us freedom to do anything and everything. Because at the end of the day, without observing the limits, then we are going to bring a society, young people who do not have any form of values. Remember, I think early last year, there's a study which was done, and young people were asked, would you be corrupt if you're given an opportunity? And most of them said yes. In fact, in Kenya today, corruption looks like the best.
In fact, I remember the survey that they did, and there was young people saying that for them it's more important how much you have. It doesn't matter how you got it, which was a very sad state to be in.
Indeed. And why is it so? Because even when our adults and the elites, the leaders, when they take money from the public coffers, they are kind of praised. And you all rally support to them. And who support them? It's our parents. And if my parent is supporting a corrupt person, then even me, I imagine then one of the ways and the best ways of getting quick money is through corruption. I remember one time a parent told me that they were driving with a kid who is now going to campus. And this young man asked the mom, hey, Mom, I have been wondering, how can someone get work in the government as a procurement person? And then the mom asked the boy, where in government would you really want to work? And the boy said, I think I'd want to work in a place like NYS. and of course, the mom told me that she looked at the boy again and asked him, what do you mean, NYS?
And why NYS?
And immediately she was alarmed. And why is it so? It's because this young boy can see that people who, for example, are associated with those procurement issues and the monies that got lost, they have posh lives. And they seem to be getting protection also from their own money. So you see then a young man who is coming from his teenage now to adulthood, one of the things he desires a lot is to be able to get into a place in government where he can be able to loot. We make it so fashionable. We don't make it look like it's a bad thing. So again, that's an area that we have to look at.
Well, John Kagusha will have to wind up there. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. John Kagusha is a governance expert, but also a member of the National Prayer Breakfast Day, and that is what has been a highlight today. And it has not yet begun officially, but we do have guests who are streaming in, and right here on KTN News, we're certainly going to be giving you details of that. So I believe, and I'm told that the president has now arrived at Safari Park, and I guess that might have been what was being waited for him to arrive, for it to kick off at around 8, although running late. It's now 27 minutes after 8. So let's cross over now to Safari Park and listen to what is going on right there as the National Prayer Breakfast Day now officially kicks off. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Your Excellency, and I will kindly request all of us to take our positions and remain standing. We take our positions on our tables and we remain standing. And as we remain standing, the anthems shall be played. The Kenya National Anthem. Thank you, Your Excellencies. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly be seated. And Your Excellencies, as you take your seats, and as we settle down on our tables,